This was an interesting question, and I will say in the U.S., mobile is very different. We do not use our mobile phones the same as here in Europe, mainly because most people have PCs and laptops, and they tend to use those for most of their daily activities. But also what we have noticed is mobile is very strong for local. If you have a local business, a local restaurant, any type of business where someone walking down the street could use you, you need to have a mobile presence. You should be in the Google local results. And in doing so, you should also have your phone number. You should also have your address. Tell people if you are a restaurant, what kind of menu you have. The problem why they don't get the most out of mobile is that they don't put all of their information in their business profile. And because they don't put all information in there, no one finds it. The second problem is that too many restaurants have a flash website that doesn't work on the iPhone. And so we don't go to that restaurant. But an interesting thing has been happening in mobile in that something has been taking away from mobile and really dominating what used to be mobile space. You see, when I started doing some research, you can see when the iPhone came out, how many people are searching for iPhone apps. And in only 2 years, the number of people searching for iPad apps has almost gotten to the same level. This is just in the US. You can see this trend. This is worldwide. The iPad is taking away from mobile, and what we are finding is that people would rather use the iPad and get the full experience of your website, much as if it were a magazine. And they would rather read their news on the iPad. They would rather use your website on the iPad. And mobile is becoming more just for local businesses and email and applications. But the iPad is really becoming its own type of marketing because people want to interact with the iPad and they want to interact with real sites rather than the mobile sites because they want to see more products. They want to see more information, and so they like the larger screen. One of the things when we look at how people view websites in the analytics, we find that people on iPads stay longer than anybody else. They look at more pages. Everyone else has a high bounce rate. The iPad usually has a low bounce rate. And we are also tracking on some e-commerce sites, about 5% of transactions are done through an iPad. So we're seeing very, very strong growth in the iPad, unlike we have seen with mobile or iPhone or something like that. You can see the difference of all the other, the iPod, the Samsung, HTC, Apple iPad is looking at for this customer, about 4 pages per visit, about 3 minutes time on site, and only a 40% bounce rate. Everyone else is not staying as long or doing as much. So we are focused on the iPad and the tablet market as being the newest emerging market. Mobile came from up here and is now underneath the iPad in the adoption in what we have seen.
Thank you. Anybody has question about the mobile search? No? Twitter?
Would you use the same KPI to track the success from a mobile website?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. The number one thing I look at for my mobile users is bounce rate. Bounce rate lets me know if a certain phone or a certain device has a very high bounce rate, something is not working for them, and we need to find out why. That's the first KPI that I look at for any device, because we want to be sure that we're capturing that. If I see my iPad bounce rate is high, I do something today about that. But that's the first thing we look at is bounce rate, and then we look at typically how they find it. Google will show different sites in the rankings if you search on your mobile, because different sites perform better in certain devices. So Google is changing the mobile search results based on what device you have. So in that way, they're trying to give a better user experience based on which device you have as well.
No questions? Yeah. Questions?
I have a question regarding landing page optimization coming from mobile search. Is there anything specific to look at or KPIs?
Really, it's bounce rate, conversion rate. Those are things we look at, and really, it's making sure your page loads quickly. That is the number one consideration we look for. We find that on mobile, people are less patient than any other device. So loading quickly is a high consideration. But then also with Google Analytics, tracking the goal, the success, whether it is clicking the phone number, moving into that, or making a reservation. Those are things that we track specifically for mobile.
Are you also tracking the size of screens? And is that really meaningful information if you want to optimize a landing page coming from a mobile search?
You can track size of screen. That's one thing that Google Analytics is making available. I don't track that so much because screens are getting larger and larger, and anyone that had a BlackBerry doesn't use it after last week. So...
Yeah, excuse me, I did not get if the data analysis, especially on the tablets like iPads versus mobiles, was focused on the US or was a worldwide data analysis?
This one is This one is worldwide.
Yeah.
The one that I showed. The first one was US, and that's something we were seeing in the US, and I wanted to see if that was just in the US. Okay. But it's actually worldwide. We're seeing searches for iPad apps. They should probably surpass iPhone apps by I would say, towards the middle to end of next year.
Perfect.
Anybody has question? No? I have one. Do you redirect iPhone user to mobile website? Or let them to the large website?
I would recommend directing an iPhone user to a mobile site, but always have a link to the regular site. And make it very obvious, whether it's at the bottom of the page. Out of consideration, some do like seeing the entire website rather than just the mobile site. So make it easy for them to find that link.
Thank you. Questions?
Hello. You said iPad users are staying longer than other users. Do they see different pages, different kinds of information?
We find that when someone is on their mobile, they have no patience. They have a task, and they want it done now. They don't want to wait for information, so they're very fast in getting the information that they want. We find people on their iPad are usually sitting down. They usually have time, and so they're much more relaxed in the way that they search for information, and the behavior of people using iPads is very different from the behavior of people on mobile. And that's why we are saying it's a completely new market, a completely different channel, because we find iPad users tend to browse more, and they aren't as impatient as mobile users. Does that answer your question?
My question was maybe also to know if they go on different websites, like if they have specific places where they go and where the others don't go.
As far as content that they like, or mobile is mainly they're searching, and they're mainly searching for local based information. iPad, they're looking at news. They're looking at catalogs, browsing websites, playing games. It's a very different mentality, very different thinking between iPad, and so they use the two devices very differently.
Une dernière question sur le mobile? Oui.
Hi, Matt. When you say that iPad users are spending more time, do you mean only specific iPad user or tab users? I mean other tablets, Samsung or...
What we find is on websites, when we are looking at website behavior, iPad users are spending longer than other devices. That's when I say that, that's what we're looking at is there any consistency to the data? And that's what we find is that on e-commerce websites especially, iPad users stay longer because they treat it as if it were a catalog, because they can do more actions. And so publishers, catalog retailers, if they can develop an app or if they can make their site more iPad friendly, they will benefit in the future, because people like that activity of just taking time and browsing, reading. It's a very easy device to read on, and it's almost like having a catalog in your hands.
Do you say that they stay longer because they get specific iPad content?
No.
iPad, no.
No. With traditional websites, they do stay longer. Not because it's iPad content, but because it's easier to browse even on an iPad. It's easier to browse on an iPad than even a PC, because I can make pictures larger, I can shrink them, I can move the page around. There's more interaction that you can have on the iPad than even just with a PC or laptop. The device itself is amazing, and that's what we see in the behavior that people exhibit.
On iPad, people stay longer, but do they convert more?
Right now we're seeing on our e-commerce sites, I'm measuring around 5%, and in talking with other retailers, that is about what we're seeing, but it is growing. As more retailers develop their sites using CSS, so that it is a very seamless transition from a PC to the tablet. The easier you make it, just like with your website, the easier you make it, the easier people will buy. So we are tracking more and more with that, and as more iPads come out, we're going to see more sales based on that.
Thank you very much, Matt. So, no questions. Next subject, next topic, multi-touch analysis.